3. Hello, hello. Happy Wellness Wellbeing Wednesday, everybody. We are so excited to be here, but the thing is, you're saying, Michelle, it's not Wellness Wednesday. It is Fabulous Friday. What are we doing? We have had such an amazing week, and I am just so excited to be here. We apologize for that. Thank you for your grace, compassion, and love for not being able to come in, but we just had several technical obstacles that were not cooperating. And today I am just honored to have a very wonderful special speaker that I have been sharing with you guys. So I will be introducing her into a moment. Her name is Maria. Hi, Maria. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Michelle. This is fantastic. Thanks for having me for Fabulous Fridays. Love Friday.
Well, I am super excited. So as we come, and I try to stay committed for all you listeners out there to just bring you Wellness Wednesday, answer questions, and bring you tips, and just be here for you, even if it's a Fabulous Friday. But I would like, before we get started, because we are in a series this month of revitalizing yourself with lasting lifestyle changes and a wellness mindset. So my question to you is, what changes are you making for you to be free this 2023? And I will be sharing that for the entire year, because we have changes to make. But before we get started, as I always do, I want to just take a moment of stillness for anyone that is hurting out there, anyone that may be struggling from the horrific tragedies in the Ukraine to Uvalde, or maybe it's just within your own home, or the hurricanes that happened in Syria and Lebanon and Turkey, or it might be just within your own self. Whatever that might be, this is just a moment of stillness, asking God to put that hedge of protection over you, your family, your home, our country, and the world. Thank you for this. Thank you so much, you guys. We've got some celebrations that we have for the month, which is why I'm so excited to have Maria here with us, because we are on the last day of International Women's Month. We have some other awarenesses, but this one is just to celebrate amazing women, and Maria is definitely one of those. We have National Colorectal Cancer, National Disabilities Awareness, National Nutrition Month, Women's History Month, National Reading Month, Social World Month, International Day of Forests, World Water Day, Global Recycling Day, Brain Injury Awareness, Cerebral Palsy Awareness. One that's very dear to me as well is Developing Disability Awareness. So those are just a few, along with multiple sclerosis, kidney, myeloma. There's so many. If I have not mentioned one, please just drop it in the chat below. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, hit the subscribe button right here if you're on YouTube, or just like and share this and share it with whoever you feel that would be beneficial for this. But today we are going to be discussing wellness, lifestyle benefits, and changes. My name is Michelle Maynard MacArthur, and I am your hospitality, health, and wellness strategist that is here to help guide you through that positive process for change. And that is with a lean, holistic, healing approach from the inside out. That lean stands for our pillars of lifestyle, exercise, attitude, and nutrition. And the fun part is taking and showing you 2 top luxury wellness destinations around the world. I am a master certified health and wellness coach with Dr. Sears Wellness Institute that complements a certification I have in traditional Chinese medicine. And there's nothing more dear to me is my purpose, passion, and why. And that is being an overcomer a thriver, survivor into a thriver of a progressive degenerative neuromuscular disorder, along with depression for over 30 years now. But I'm here today with my voice, whether I stumble up, you hear too many ums, whatever that might be, and surrounding ourselves with like-minded people that are sharing their journey is something that just really helps me in thriving, which is our beautiful Maria that we have here today. And the tips are being brought to you by MacArthur Accommodations, where we are a hospitality, health, and wellness coaching and consulting advisement company that does specialize in that overall optimal health and wellness worldwide, with the innovations to reflect, recharge, and renew yourself one step at a time. And to tell and introduce this wonderful, amazing lady, Maria Costanzo. Did I pronounce that right? Costanzo?
Yep, Costanzo. Absolutely.
Costanzo.
Just like with an O.
Palmer. And she has that last name of Palmer. And she is a writer. She is also a Page Turner Award finalist for On the Rocks. Growing up as the oldest child of an award-winning restaurateur, Maria unexpectedly became the daughter of an incarcerated. This experience ignited an interest in working for Get on the Bus. It's a nonprofit dedicated to uniting children with their incarcerated parents. Maria is currently a grant writer for St. Paul's Development Corporation, and she is also a regular co-moderator for the Food is Religion Club on Clubhouse. A former host on LA Talk Radio, Maria recently was featured on Food and Beverage Magazine Live, a nationally syndicated podcast. Her writing has been published in OC87 Recovery Diaries, and she has made a number of media appearances. You can actually find Maria. I will pop that in. You'll see it streaming on Facebook and Instagram, Joe Costanzo, Prima Donna, and on Twitter, Maria C. Palmer. And for more information, which we will put, it's an easy one, mariacpalmer.com. She's going to be sharing today with us some the changes she encountered with mental health and wellness and her journeys with anxiety and depression. So I'm going to say the question back to you again is, what changes are you making for you to be free this 2023? So without further ado, I just want to say thank you for saying yes, Maria. Thank you for coming on and gracing us with your presence. And just please just bless us with what you have to say and all of your words of wisdom and great golden tips.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. And hello to everybody out there who's listening. I love this topic. Mental health awareness is something that is very, very near and dear to my heart, and something that I've personally struggled with and continue to struggle with almost on a daily basis. But I'm hoping today that through some of these 8 tips that I'm going to give you, it may give you a little solace to kind of take your own control back, because as we are going through these trials and tribulations in life, sometimes it feels like there's no hope and that we're spiraling downwards and that we cannot get ahead of the curve. And, you know, I'm here to tell you that you certainly can. And it's not easy, but it's something that's obtainable for everybody. And I want to start, I'm going to jump right in and give you my first tip. And so we've all heard the old adage, treat other people the way that you would want to be treated yourself. And for me, I never treated myself very well. So that old adage never really worked because I always put other people first. I always just had these very high expectations of myself that were unobtainable. And not only were they unobtainable, what I started to realize is that I wouldn't expect somebody else to do what it was that I was expecting myself to do. So I was burning the candle at both ends. I was giving myself all kinds of negative talk, saying that I couldn't do something or why wasn't I good enough? And, this actually really fueled my anxiety, so much to the point where I had a breaking point in my own inner being. And I started to feel that stress and that anxiety come out in physical symptoms. And for me, those physical symptoms included kind of some numbness in the right side of my face and my limbs. And I thought that there was something physically wrong with me. But what was wrong with me is that I was spiraling so out of control and I had so much stress and so much anxiety that I didn't know where to go with it, and it was popping up into other areas. So, my first tip is to, whenever something doesn't feel right, start to identify what that is. And for me, it was those physical symptoms that I needed to take a look at. So, step number 2, we kind of know that you need to do something in order to overcome this really big thing that's happening to you in your life. And so for me, I knew that a change needed to be made. But Michelle, and for those of you out there, you know that change is hard and change is scary. And especially for other people that might be the perfectionist types, which I have a feeling, if you've ever had any anxiety or depression, you may fall under that category. We don't like to change. We like to do what we know. We like to stay in control. And change is giving up that control, and change is doing something different. But a good friend of mine once told me, if you always do what you've always done, you will always be where you've always been. And I'm going to say that one more time because I love that quote so much. And this friend's name is Clarence Carter. And he said, if you always do what you've always done, you will always be where you've always been. And so I knew for me, whenever I was going through the heightened part of my anxiety, I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to stay there. And so, as scary as it was for me to decide to make a change, I knew that in my gut, I had to, because it was affecting not only my mental health, but my physical health. So what did I do? I tried to do some small things. It's really challenging for me to ask anybody for help. But I decided that, you know what? I'm going to step out of the box and I'm going to ask people that I love for small things. Hey, I have to go to the doctor. Would you mind picking up the kids from school? Hey, I'm going to be out at a meeting all day. Would you mind just coming over and letting my dogs out? Hey, I'm going to be away for the weekend. Would you mind just watering my flowers? And what I had expected to happen is I expected people to feel like I was burdening them, because that's what I felt like. I felt like, oh, I'm asking these people to do all these things for me, and this is a burden and it's horrible. But guess what? Whenever we do things for other people, it makes us feel joy and it makes us feel happiness. And so instead of these friends and family members saying, oh, Maria, I'm not going to do that, this is such a burden, they were so overjoyed to be able to help me in the ways that they felt that I had helped them in the past. And so sometimes asking for help is not a plea bargain. It's not begging somebody to do something. It's actually creating a moment of joy and a moment of happiness for them. So, start small with your changes. I always say, just dip your toe into the water, because you can always pull it out. If it's not working, you can always take a different path. But we got to try this stuff so we can feel comfortable, because in order to obtain this calm about us and to bring our anxiety levels down and to bring our depression levels down, we need to try something else out. Because if you don't, you get into this rut and you get used to feeling the way that you do. And it's not good to be on this cycle of anxiety and depression, because the further we seep down into these things, the further we have until we kind of come out of these things. So That's my tip number 2, is start small with your changes. My tip number 3 is to find your own joy. There are so many people out there that wait for other people to make their own selves feel happy. And they say to themselves, if I only had a few more friends, if I only had more money, if I only had a job that did X, Y, or Z, if I only had a family member that would help me do X, Y, or Z, these people will never be happy. They will never, ever, ever be happy because they are waiting for other people to create that happiness and that joy in their lives. And what we have to realize is that we have to find our own joy. And that is going to be something that's individualized for all of us. So for me, that's being, I love, what Michelle was saying, and I love that she takes these lives from outside, because for me, it's being in nature. It's doing yoga, it's hiking, it's, if the weather's cold and snowy, it's skiing. I live on a lake, so it's going out on my boat. It's enjoying my surroundings and kind of taking that deep breath. And it's also being with all of you. I really enjoy interacting with other people. I enjoy other people's stories. I enjoy getting to know how they got to where they are. That all brings me joy. Is that going to bring you joy? Maybe not. But I can guarantee that if you fill up your own toolbox with what works for you, and you do more of what works for you, and you create that joy within yourself, there's nobody that can stop you, and there's nobody that can take that away. So create your own joy. That's my tip number 3. My tip number 4 is kind of edged right off of creating your own joy, and that is creating a little structure around your day, especially whenever times are tough. And trust me, I get it. I have been through the depths of depression and anxiety, and these are things that you don't ever truly recover from. I think everybody has setbacks. I have setbacks. You might have setbacks, and that's okay. You can take a step backwards or 5 steps backwards and then a couple of steps forwards. That's just how life goes. And that's nothing to be sad about or to beat yourself up about. This is what happens in life, but we just need to know how to pick ourselves up and kind of get back on that right track. And for me, my step number 4 is all about structure. And if you can, and I know you can't do this every day, although we would like to, start your day with some joy. So even if it's just 5 minutes, take a breathing exercise, go outside and look at the sun, pet your dog or your cat, give a snuggle to one of your children or your husband or your wife. Do something that's going to just put a smile on your face. Watch something funny. I'm always like, whenever I have belly laughs, I normally can't stop for the rest of the day. And laugh at yourself. I mean, sometimes we are the funniest people around because you can't take yourself too seriously. And if you're able to get in a really good belly laugh, it really helps to set that day up. But for me, it helps me to stay structured. I normally try to do 1 work task every day, 1 writing task every day, 1 cleaning task every day, and 1 athletic task every day. And if I've accomplished those, then I feel like at the end of the day, you know what, even if nothing else went right, even if like my kids are screaming, my dogs are barking, you pat yourself on the back. That's right, Michelle. You say, you know what, everything was crazy today, but I did do a load of laundry. And that's okay. Or, you know what? Everything just fell apart at 3:00, but I was able to get out there and take 5 deep breaths, and I was able to accomplish that. So just by accomplishing something, and you can build on it. And if you are going through immense amounts of depression and anxiety, be easy on yourself. Don't set yourself up with 12 things to do. Give yourself maybe one or two structured things. Even if you say, you know what, I'm going to sleep from this time to this time, or I'm going to schedule in a meal, or I'm going to see somebody, or I'm going to go watch a movie, whatever it is. If you can accomplish those things, check them off your list and be happy about it, because guess what? You did something, and that's something to celebrate. So that is my next tip. My next tip, tip number 5, is to learn how to say no. So I don't know if anybody else out there is like me in that you would do anything to please people, right? We all love to be liked. We love to be the people that make other people happy. But by doing this, guess who we're making not so happy? Ourselves. So if you've ever read any of Rachel Hollis's stuff, I'm going to steal one of her quotes. And she says, if it's not an absolute yes, it is a no. If it's not, and I think she actually says, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. So you should feel on fire about the things that you say yes to. Whenever Michelle asked me to be on her Clubhouse room and she asked me to be live with you guys tonight, there was no hesitation. I was like, yes, this is something that I want to do, that I need to do, that I'm passionate about doing. But there are other things in life that, you know what, I'm not so passionate, but you might want to say yes because you feel like it's an obligation, or you feel like, oh, these people really want me to say yes, or I should go here because this person did this for me. But the more that you do that, the more time you are giving up in order to do something that you don't really want to do. So be a little bit selfish sometimes and choose what your yeses are, because you will have other opportunities to serve people that also serve you. So you don't have to say yes to everything. And there's a way to graciously say no. I always, whenever people ask me to do something and it's just either not within my capacity at the moment or my scope, I always start with saying to them, thank you for thinking of me. Because of all the people, there's got to be a trust component there, that they actually thought about wanting to ask you to do something. And that in itself is an honor. So I always honor them by saying thank you. And then I always just tell them honestly what the reason is that I can't do it. If there's a capacity conflict, or if there's a time conflict, or if that's just not where I'm going right now. I had somebody recently ask me if I wanted to write grants for them. And I said to them, listen, I love you. I want you to find a grant writer that's going to work for you, but this cannot work for me right now. I have too many other things on my plate, and I want to be able to give the other things that are on my plate my priority. But I will certainly point you in the right direction. I will help you. I will do everything that I can, but I just can't be that person for you, because nobody wants you at 10%. Everybody wants you at 100%. And whenever we say no to things, we're able to come into the things that we love at that 100%, or sometimes 120% if you're me. So saying no. My next tip number 6, is to limit your negativity. So this is not only your personal negativity. This is not those bad thoughts that we say to ourselves, like, I can't do that, or why am I not a good enough writer, or why at yoga class, why is this other person doing all these crazy arm balances and I can barely stand up? We don't want to do that negative talk, but we also want to stay away from the people in our lives that do that. And sometimes that's really hard, because sometimes these people are relatives or they might be close friends, but you have to know your own self and how you can limit your interactions with people, or how you can steer the conversation differently. So if it goes down a train where people are being negative and it's feeling icky to you, find a way to either steer it in a positive direction, or find a way to end the call or end the meeting. And, you can say, I'm so sorry. You know what? this is very interesting, but I am actually out of time, or I have to go pick something up, or I have to do something. Don't stay in that negative energy, because when we stay in that negative energy, whenever we are around people or things that create negativity, that's what we're soaking up. What we want to do instead is we want to be around positive people, positive thoughts, people that make us feel good about ourselves, and people that are honestly happy. You always find those people that whenever you tell them what you're doing, they're just like, oh, really? Okay. And then you find those people that are your tribe and your cheerleaders, and they're so happy for you. Whenever you're winning, they're winning. Those are the types of people that you want to spend your time around. And I will, end with that. Just be so receptive to that positivity. So that's my next tip. My tip number 7 has all to do with your diet. So nobody necessarily wants to change their diet, but sometimes, just like the change in our emotional perspective is not a bad thing, even though it's scary, the same can happen for our diet. So for me, one of the things that I'm doing in 2023 is I'm eating a lot cleaner. I'm eating a lot healthier. I have some genetic LDL kind of cholesterol situations going on, and I have become mostly a pescatarian and a vegetarian. Not completely. I do still have some chicken and turkey on occasion, but I thought I would miss it a lot more than I do. And you know what? You get used to whatever becomes the norm for you. So sometimes giving up those things, giving up the junk food, giving up the sugar, giving up all of those things that maybe have been comfort to us can feel like it's just overwhelming and too much, but it's really okay. You don't have to. You can try a different route. And you know what? Your body may respond in a surprisingly new way, and you just might feel better overall. So take that diet change if you need to. And my final tip is, this is tip number 8, if you are feeling overwhelmed at all in your life, and we all get there, and I feel this a lot too, figure out what it is that you maybe don't love to do and find a way to outsource it. And don't feel guilty or bad about it. We all, I think, especially those of us who are moms out there, we always have this guilt that we should be doing everything. Guess what? It's impossible to be doing everything. So you stick to what's in your wheelhouse. And if it's not something that's bringing you joy, outsource it. And I'm not saying, spend thousands of dollars a day. No, you find a friend or family member who maybe could help you out in that area, and maybe you could then help them out in a different area. Or, you know what? You get somebody to come in and you get somebody to take things off of your plate, maybe for a small cost. So for me, I have somebody that comes in and cleans my house every other week. I do it myself? I'm sure I could. Do I want to do it myself? Not at all. So I am happy to spend that little bit of money, put it in somebody else's pocket, get that time back for myself, and get that joy back for myself. Because at the end of the day, we need to take control of our own bodies, our own minds, our own spirits, and we need to get ourselves back to wellness. And if we use those 8 simple tips, as easy as they may seem, they do help. And you don't have to build Rome in a day either. It's step by step, it's day by day. If you're going through something right now, don't beat yourself up. Take things slow and do what you can. And if you can't do something that day, there's always tomorrow. It's really okay. You're going to be okay. You're going to get through this, because at the end, you're worth it. And I'm here to tell you that you're worth it, because I want to see all of you thrive. And that, my friends, are my 8 tips to be more free in 2023.
I love it. I love it. I had to go. I found this new feature over here and it says
Ooh,
comments. And so you'll see I put for the all you listeners, if you did not see it as she was listing, but we'll have it all together for you as well. And I've gone back and forth for you to see the ways to get in touch with Maria, as well as this amazing book that she's launching. But before we talk about that book, Maria, I just want to dive in that these are great. I mean, when I heard you talk about, I got 8 tips, Michelle, and I'm like, I usually give 5. And you're like, well, I can scale it down. Absolutely not. Because I think about the 8, the wellness wheel. It goes in 6, it goes in 8, it goes in 12. And this right here is so well rounded. I'm very structured just because of the neurological. I have to be. I
Mhm.
have to. This is how I survive. But when I thought about it, it's like, yes, that structure. But the one that is just keeps coming that I am learning a little bit more is that 2-letter word, is to say no. And you said it so eloquently. It's like I just found myself going, wait, I saw that occasion, this occasion of just being very, not feeling like you're pressured that they need your help, but just finding a way to do that. So thank you so much for sharing this. I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you were going, if you might just share just a little bit, I know that might be a segue into about your book and so, but what really just was that point that said, I got to make a difference. I got to move forward and move past and move into that where I'm stuck to where I'm going to do.
Yeah, that is a fantastic question, Michelle. And for me, what people may not know about my story is that I grew up in one of America's top 10 Italian restaurants in McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, which is a really small town right outside of Pittsburgh. And my father was this awesome restaurateur. And I grew up in the restaurant. He struggled for a long time to make the American dream of taking this failing business that he bought and turning it into a world-class restaurant. And we had celebrities and sports persona and broadcasters and a whole slew of people kind of come in and out of that place in the heyday. And he had won so many awards and was really at the top of his game. And, I really had the pleasure of working beside him and being part of all of that wonderful hospitality. And that all changed whenever I was a junior in college and I answered a knock at my door. And it was the federal government looking for my father. And he nor I knew that at the time his name was mentioned in a federal grand jury investigation. And whenever your name is mentioned in a federal grand jury investigation, instead of it being a civil case, it's an automatic criminal case. And so my father went through a 3-year investigation and eventually pled guilty to tax evasion charges and served 5 months in a federal prison facility. And during that time, I was only 20 years old. I was home alone whenever I answered the door, and the federal government was on the other end of that door. And I spiraled so far out of control with anxiety and depression, and they went hand in hand. I had constant panic attacks, and then I would be so down on myself after I had these panic attacks that I would go into these long spell depression episodes. And so I decided to actually move to California to get away from everything. And whenever we try to move away from our problems, they have a way for finding us in our suitcases and they hop along in the journey. And for me, the turning point, honestly, it's going to sound really ridiculous. But I was with my boyfriend at the time, and we were sitting at a restaurant, and the poor waitress came over and she handed us this really extensive menu. And she started with all the specials. And at that time, and for those of you who have gone through a depressive or an anxiety episode, decisions are really tough and decisions are incredibly overwhelming. And this poor young waitress went through all of these different choices. And I am a foodie and I love hearing about food, but my brain couldn't take it. And it was just so overwhelming to me that I had to just run out of the door. And, I just realized at that moment, I can't live like this. I have to find another way. And I was able to get connected with this really spunky nun in Los Angeles that ran this program called Get on the Bus, which took children to visit their incarcerated parents for Mother's Day and Father's Day. And it was through that experience that I not only started to find joy, but I started to find my purpose. And I thought I was supposed to come on board to help the families that we were serving. But really what they did for me is they helped me. They helped me to feel that I didn't have to feel any shame or guilt, and that I was deserving of feeling love and feeling happiness and creating joy. And that experience alone really catapulted me into a new phase in my life where I learned that, there is a comeback. There is a part two to all of our journeys. And if you're going through something hard out there, if I never thought for a million years. I had this very magical childhood, and my parents are fantastic people. They're still fantastic people to this day, but this really horrible nightmare situation happened to us, and it kind of spiraled us all downhill. And it was really kind of taking that experience that kind of led me back onto the rails of the train after I kind of got derailed. And really from that moment on, and this happened whenever I was 20, so 20 some years ago. But from that moment on, I thought, you know what, I'm going to take my journey and I'm going to use it for the benefit of other people, to teach other people how to get through really hard things, and to teach other people that when you find your way out of a situation and you come out of the other end, that grit and that resilience that you had is, in my opinion, going to make you very successful in your life. It's all of those tiger stripes that we collect over our lifetime, whatever those can be, that becomes part of our being and part of our nature. And it makes you a much richer person. Whenever people talk to you, they'll say things like, wow, you are so soulful for your age, or you've just sort of figured out how to live. Like, how have you figured out how to live? Well, it's because I lived a lot of life, and it wasn't necessarily by choice. It was by happenstance. So I guess, what I'm saying is, no matter what you're going through right now, and it could be something major or, maybe something minor, you will get through it on the other end. You will come out stronger. You are worthy of coming out stronger. You will get better. You just have to keep it on every day. Just put one foot in front of the other and you'll get there. So that was my breaking point and my realization of how to come back from that.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that there's so much power in our stories and our journey of where it is, because while we never know what another person is going through, and I've said it so many times when I speak, while death at your doorstep can be just very too much for one person, divorce could be worse than death for another person, or stubbing your toe, or just, different things. It doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is how it affects that person. Mm-hmm. And how it affects that person and how they are going to come out of it.
Mhm.
And I am a firm believer that it's all of our responsibilities to do that with you, just like you sharing your story and, us being able to do just that. I will, always say, as long as I have this voice to just share that opportunity and take the moments of making a difference, of what's behind the mask, what's behind that smile, because we never know, especially in anxiety and depression. And you're looking at mental illnesses that go, and it's very important to me because just coming from, there's so many people out there. And I look back when I first started the Wellness Wednesdays of nonviolent communication. It was a book that I was required for my certification as a health coach. And then I pulled out the other book of Worry Free Living, an old book of mine that we had in the series the last probably year, to then this book right here that is revitalizing and lifestyle changes from what I did in master as a master coach studies. And it's really important. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for saying yes. Um, I want to give you your moments right here, but I want to tell the listeners that because she said yes, and then we were just having the obstacles of juggling. I said this is going to be great because what better way to have fabulous Friday from Wellness Wednesday? So with that, and she is in hospitality as a restaurateur. So that restaurateur that comes in, tune in, we're going to have her for Travel Tip Tuesday, guys.
Yay.
But
I'm
I wanted,
excited.
yeah, me too. And I want to take an opportunity. I've got it right here to pre-order your book. Share
Sure.
when your book launches before we, close
Yeah.
out. I want to make sure.
Absolutely. So, my book is about the rise and fall of my father, Joseph Costanzo Jr. He owned the Prima Donna, and he kind of, as I had said before, bought this failing business and had this dream of creating a world-class restaurant in this really small little tiny town that was not really equipped for a world-class restaurant, but he did the impossible and he was able to achieve greatness through his dream because he never stopped believing in himself. And the book follows his journey to the rise of the prima donna. And then, that ever fateful knock at my door, which was the start of the downward spiral, and how we had everything and then kind of lost everything, and what lessons were learned and gained through that. And the book is right now on pre-order. I'm so blessed and so lucky to have a partnership with the Heinz History Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a Smithsonian Museum affiliate. And they graciously are going to be doing a lot for me. But one of the things that they're doing is they will be selling and distributing my book. And right now they've actually put it on, we call the exclusive pre-sale. So if you hit the website that is up on the
I have it.
screen
Yep.
right now, or you could also go to my website, which is mariacpalmer.com. That's just my name. And if you hit the website, you can actually pre-order the book. There's a hard cover and soft cover. And if you order before June 15th, I will sign it, and my co-author will also sign it. And my co-author is, weirdly enough, you never know where life takes you and brings you back. So my co-author, Ruthie Robbins, is actually my former high school AP English teacher, believe it or not. So she and I worked on the project together. I, got as far as I could with it. I started working on it with my father 17 years ago, and got, to the point where I needed to bring in my co-author maybe about 5 years ago. And we've been partners, and we are two females, go girl power in the month of March here. But we write as a male. So we write actually from my father's perspective, which is kind of like fun and crazy because he does things and he makes choices that we probably wouldn't have made. So it's really fun to kind of become somebody else through this project. And, if you like it, the book very much reads, it's a narrative nonfiction, but it reads like fiction. So if you like kind of like an edgy type of Cheers with food and colorful characters and lots of grit, very fast paced, you will absolutely love this book. And there are some really wonderful life lessons that kind of the character goes through that I think that we can all grasp, which actually, kind of tie into my tips today too. So if you're interested in this type of book, please do pick it up. Please do review it. Please do reach out to me. It comes out on August the 8th. And after August the 8th, it'll be available everywhere. And I think it'll be available in Amazon and all of the electronic formats for pre-order in mid-May. So that's a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maria. This has just been a joy having you. I can't wait to have back for, I'm all about, partnerships and how we can better support each other, especially as women, business owners, but more so just celebrating remarkable women, not just in the month. I mean, it's all through the month of March, but all through the year, not just celebrating and bringing. No, not just the month. I mean, we just have, and we're busy, we've got kids, we've got parents, we've got husbands, we've got life, to go through. And that's what makes us all resilient and remarkable and just to go through. But I wanted to say, I put your how anyone can go in and get your book. But is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners and the viewers before we close out?
Sure. So you can find me at my website, Maria C. Palmer. You can also follow me on social media. Those are all my social media links. And if you are a Clubhouse person, that's actually how I met Michelle. I regularly co-moderate the room through the Food is Religion Club on Wednesdays. That's all about writing your own story for publication. So if you've ever thought about writing a book or writing a story, I hope you would stop by. It's Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and it's myself, an ex-editor at a Big Five publishing house, and an expert in self-publishing. So it's the three of us, and sometimes we have other people, I think a food blogger and some other people that kind of pop into. But it's really a lot of fun, and sometimes not super duper regularly. It depends upon my work schedule, but I'm also in Food is Religion, sometimes Mondays at 12 o'clock. We have a mental health room. That's really good. And every once in a while you find me in there co-moderating too. So, and tomorrow, if anybody is around at 11 a.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be on iHeartRadio. So
well, you'll have to record it.
Yeah. So you can check me out on iHeartRadio too. So
you'll have to drop that in the chat. I've got it on all three platforms, from Facebook to LinkedIn to YouTube, so that any of the listeners, I would just recommend do it on all three after we get off. And that way everybody can say, hey, I want to go listen to Maria on iHeartRadio. You just have that beautiful, soothing radio voice anyway. So I'm just so grateful for you coming. I can't wait till we do this again, because we will. There is the site.
Will.
Yeah, there's the site for all of you that you can to get the book. I did put it in the chat, and there's how to get in touch with Maria. So I'm going to wish you all off. Maria, hang tight. I'll formally say goodbye to you behind. But for all of you listeners, I just want to wish you a beautiful, blessed, and prosperous day and evening, filled with what's most important is abundant health. Thank you for tuning in. I will catch you next time. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Try to go out and enjoy yourself. Bye-bye.
Bye.